Friday, I think. Am I right, Ray? Where it's like, hey, let's maybe kind of walk through how all this stuff happens instead of just talking about it. And yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, and you know, and Dustin was he was holding up the show last week with his expertise in mining and the technical machine side of the business, and we had a really good and interesting talk about that. So I appreciate Dustin doing that as well, and we we shared some alpha over the weekend, and I think we're both happy with the way things are going, but. I'll let Dustin speak for himself. But anyway, I'll go ahead and start. And let's see. I guess I can share my screen. You all are going to have to let me know whether you see it or not, or whether it's big enough, or I don't know if I'm doing anything correctly. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Where I don't have a whole lot of. Okay, let's try that. MetaMask on my Brave browser. Go live somehow. Wow, there it is, I think. Does everybody see that? There we go. Let's change. Does everybody?
How do we see it exactly?
Let's see. Can you expand? Does it?
I see it.
Can you and that'll go full screen? Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I'll let everybody kind of go with that and see if they're going full stream or not. But so I picked Avalanche because that's obviously we've had a lot of folks in Telegram. You know, Daniel being you know the lead pony in that show as far as our group's participation, and we got an airdrop in the year on the Pangolin protocol from Leo, and that was really great to see. And so I just thought it would be good to, and last but not least, the thing that's most attractive about it is the Avalanche Rush program. They're $250 million worth of incentives to kickstart their big expansion. It's been pretty amazing up to this point. And so I'm going to walk through a scenario, at least that I hope everybody will appreciate and understand. But the first thing you have to do, and this is just, how do you get your money from the Ethereum chain over to the Avalanche chain? And I use MetaMask, obviously. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. If not, use it as well. But you have to switch the direction here on that, and it'll bring up MetaMask and switch you over to Ethereum chain. And so then you pick your Ethereum assets that you're going to bring across the bridge from Ethereum to Avalanche. And you know, these are all the you know, the different, and it will give you balances that you have that you can bring across. This is just kind of some dust in my wallet here. I don't keep a whole lot of stuff in my wallet, but you basically just transfer it across that way. I mean, and if you've got an Avalanche wallet set up in your MetaMask, the tokens will end up there. But and the cool thing is, because AVAX is the basically gas token, the native token for Avalanche. So they give you a little bit of that to get you through your first few transactions once you get over the bridge, which is nice. If you send more than $75 worth, so that's really a nice thing that they did. So typically, I want to go through two of the main protocols that they started supporting last week, I believe, and they're the two largest by TVL protocols from Ethereum, which is the Aave lending and borrowing protocol, and then Curve, which is liquidity pool protocol, and that's kind of the first step. So I will go ahead and show you the Aave site, and once you've got your well, I guess I'm gonna have to change back to my Avalanche wallet here, so at least it and once you're hooked up with your app, because Aave does Ethereum, Polygon, and Avalanche, so you make sure you select the Avalanche's icon there, and you're in your Avalanche wallet, and everything should be good. So basically, what
you have to sorry, John, you have to set up an Avalanche wallet in MetaMask, right?
Yeah. Yes, you do. Before that bridge can actually happen, but it'll set up the tokens. Actually, I almost wish I could do a demonstration, and I probably could if I wanted to take some money and push it across, but I'm cheap. And gas fees are still, you still have to pay an Ethereum gas fee to get your Ethereum assets over to Avalanche. And I know Keith and I experienced high gas prices this morning, so we're going to wait till tomorrow when I show them how to do that. But once it's across the bridge, you're in Aave, and Aave is a lending and borrowing protocol. It's basically a bank. It walks like a bank. It talks like a bank. It is a bank. You put in deposits and you borrow, so that's basically it. It's nothing fancy, but they're mainly stable coins, and that's for a reason, because the risk of liquidation on a stable coin is very low compared to most any other asset, just because it's pegged to the dollar, and if it loses its peg by 10 or 20%, the game's over pretty much anyway, so who cares, right? But anyway, so what you're seeing here, you're going to bring your assets across the bridge, and basically you're going to deposit it. And so what you're seeing here under the deposit, the bold numbers, or the large number on top, are your actual what you're getting paid. Say we're gonna work with DAI. It's going to pay you 2.71 in DAI, and that is paid to you in DAI. So you're getting stablecoin returns in stablecoins. You're not getting paid in somebody else's token. You're not getting paid in Aave tokens. You're getting paid in DAI. So it's just like a bank account. You put in dollars, your interest is paid in dollars. But the neat thing with this Avalanche program is that Avalanche, incentivizing the use of this platform and the use of borrowing and lending on the Avalanche chain through Aave. So on top of the 2.7 that they're giving you 4.96 in Avalanche tokens. So you're getting DAI and Avalanche tokens as your interest rate that you're earning on your deposit. And that's nice. So that's 7.67%, I guess, is what that comes out to be. For a stable coin return, it's not too shabby. It beats the heck out of what you're going to get in a bank, in a savings account. So what we'll look at, and we'll click on DAI here, and this is the next page. This has got a bunch of different information on it. But the important thing is that mistake I made the first time when I did this on Polygon, I looked, and I'll go back to the rates. Oops, here. I looked at the rates, and I'm going, well, what has the best return? Well, look, the USDT, it's paying 11% return on a stable coin. So I went ahead and I just aped in and just dumped all my money in, not all my money, but what I was going to invest with the USDT. Unfortunately, when I clicked USDT, you can't use it as collateral to borrow against. So that's an important thing, because what you want to do in this is basically, and there's a cat in the background if you hear that. You're gonna deposit, and then you're gonna go ahead and borrow, because if we choose DAI, we can see that you can. It is collateralized, and you can borrow up to 75% of what you've deposited. So that's important. So if you put $1,000 in DAI on the front end and deposit it, you can borrow $750 of that in whatever coin you're going to do. So the thing, you can, and the best return obviously is USDT. And the great thing about the borrow part, the percentage again in bold is what you have to pay an interest on your USDT if that's what you choose to borrow. But you're also getting paid 4.66 in Avalanche tokens, which means they're basically paying you to borrow your own collateral, which is really a great thing. If you could do that in a traditional world, go for it. But I've never seen that. I know at negative interest rates, but they're actually paying you to borrow here, which is a good thing. So you basically go, and so with DAI, you would basically, it's going to read your Avalanche wallet, and there's going to be a balance there, and you can choose how much you want to deposit. Hit deposit, it'll execute. Great thing about Avalanche, the fees are much lower than Ethereum, so that's a nice big bonus. But then once you have it deposited, then you're going to go back to the markets, and you're gonna go to your borrow side. If you want to borrow USDT, put in how much you want to borrow and click the borrow button. It's really that simple. But you just have to. There are other protocols that you can lend and borrow on, and even in this one, there is wrapped ETH and the Avalanche token. And as you can see, there. If you want to deposit Avalanche in here, it's just, just tremendous on the deposit side, and they will let you borrow up to 50% of that. But, the stable coins is where it's at because the chance of liquidation is so low. Whereas with Avalanche, if the price swings too hard, you could get liquidated on some of these loans because they will allow you up to a liquidation threshold of 65%. So, and you're also paying a liquidation penalty too. Somebody comes and liquidates you and buys out your loan. Never had that happen. If you stay with stable coins, you really shouldn't have to worry about that too much. So before we go, we're going to move on to Curve after this and take our theoretical USDT, $750 worth of it, and go and put it in the Curve platform. But before we do that, are there any questions about Aave, how it works, how these incentive programs work? And the thing to remember is these numbers update and change. These interest rates are based a lot on, if you look on, let's say, USDT, there's a utilization rate, which means money people are depositing 78% of it's probably been borrowed out. When that gets really high and there's really a liquidity squeeze, then they incent people to lend more USDT by upping the rates. It's just a money function there that, as the liquidity drops, they want to incent people to deposit more to kind of balance that out. So know that these numbers change. This isn't, and these are all variable rates, right? And there's a stable rate on the left-hand or right-hand side that's empty for a reason, because there are no stable borrowing rates on Avalanche at this moment. There are in Ethereum, but in Avalanche, and I don't even think in Polygon they have those yet. But as their market stabilizes, then it's obviously a much lower rate because it's fixed. But variable rates, you'll see those fluctuate. So just as a housekeeping thing on your account when you're yield farming is once a day pop in there and see and make sure that these numbers don't get too far out of balance that you're comfortable with. Maybe once your break even between incentives and how much your borrowing cost gets to zero, maybe you want to bail out, or it's completely up to you, or that doesn't make sense anymore for you. You just have to kind of keep up with it. This is not something you just, set it and go on vacation for a month and, let it go, because it is a variable rate. So anyway, if there's any questions on Aave, by all means, let me know. And there are no questions so far. How's everybody doing? Okay, we got people here. Awesome. Okay.
Doing great.
So yeah, actually,
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question. So if you borrow against what you've lent, then you could then relend the amount that you just borrowed, all on the same platform, right?
Yeah, you could spin it around, but like I said, with DAI, you only can get, you can only borrow 75% of it. So, if you had enough money, yeah, you could keep spinning it around and around. It's but at some point, the amount gets too low. I think there's probably better uses of your capital other places other than to do that. But just as a side note, there are other protocols that are perfecting that, and some really advanced lending and borrow protocols. These are tried and true and trusted and been around a long time, and I have as much confidence in a protocol as these two, and that's why I picked it. We'll go over a couple other at the end just to kind of experiment what some of the other stuff. But yeah, so Aave is definitely, there's where I have my DeFi llama up here. These are the two largest by TVL protocols out there. 16 billion on Curve and 15 billion on Aave. So they're not going anywhere. If they do, I think I'm in trouble, and I think a lot of other people are too. But that's beside the point. They're linchpins of the DeFi space, and with Curve pushing out to even more protocols or more chains than Aave, they're just that's the new world. It's just it was developed on Ethereum, and they're just, if your chain's EVM compatible, they're coming your way. Take your money. Not literally, but you can use their expertise to help your chain. So anyway, side note there. So we'll go ahead and move over to Curve, my favorite platform of choice. Right now, I mean, if you go to the main Curve site, there's hundreds of pools. They have a pool for everything. Let's see. I don't know if there's factory pools. No, not on Avalanche. There's 3 pools, but we're in luck because there is an Aave pool. Now this is the Aave pool has DAI, USDT, and USDC. So this is a stable coin pool. And like I said, when you're dealing with stable coins, you've got about as much security and lack of volatility and getting liquidated and impermanent loss and all those other things that people warn you about in DeFi. Using stable coins is the way to go. So basically in this Curve pool, you're getting you'll deposit, and I'll go ahead and click on this. Now you get a deposit. You get to choose which of these stable coins you want to deposit in the pool, and I guess we went with USDT. And it's let's see, go to deposit. So if you had whatever you have in your Avalanche wallet, as far as these 3 assets, they'll show up here, and you can choose how much of those you want to deposit in to the protocol. And there's 2 steps. There's deposit. Well, there's deposit, and there's deposit and stake engage. And that allows you to earn the incentives when you're staking in the gauge. And the gauge is the incentives that are coming from this. Hold on, I have to get a cat. I thought I was gonna get a cat. Keeps meowing here. Anyway, besides that, just a little side entertainment. So anyway, you'll and I guess I probably should back up about liquidity pools for people who may or may not know very much about them. They facilitate the trading of currencies, because if you think of a foreign exchange, or when people are exchanging foreign currencies, the dollar is the reserve currency, right? Everything goes through the dollar. It's the agreement we've had for 60 or 70 years now with the rest of the world, or most of the rest of the world. But when you're talking about crypto tokens, it's like, it depends on what protocol, what the base token is for that. Are you trading your Bitcoin for some other, link token or something, or what it might be. Regardless of what that is, there has to be a liquidity pool where both of those assets are in a pool that people can trade off of. So there's liquidity. So you're not just, you don't have to go find some guy who has Bitcoin and that you trade your link token with. There's a pool there to facilitate that. And obviously, in a monetary system, liquidity is extremely important. I mean, the velocity of your money increases tremendously when you have enough liquidity. And newer protocols need that liquidity to grow their protocol, to grow the token that they're trying to get out into the market, to increase its visibility, really, and allowing people to trade it. So what they will do a lot of times with liquidity pools is, say, I don't have a favorite token. I picked on Link, and I know Tyler's a big Link Marine, so
Yeah.
I'll pick on them. Say they wanted to increase they wanted to provide an incentive for a Link DAI liquidity pool, because it's good when you pair with a stable coin, because in that liquidity pool, at least one of the assets in that pool is stable. So if the other fluctuates, it doesn't completely if you have two highly volatile assets in a liquidity pool, you're just asking for trouble there, because they can get out of balance and you can get impermanent loss because of the fluctuation of the value of those tokens. But if it's paired with a stable coin, that's usually a good thing. And a lot of people use their stable coins as a basis of entering and exiting certain positions. So that's a really good thing. But what some people, and which Avalanche has done, is, because they're promoting their chain, is to incent those pools with the normal return that you would get on Curve, plus they're paying you in AVAX tokens to use that pool, or to provide liquidity in that pool on their chain. So it facilitates, liquidity and velocity of their chain, and how assets move, because without liquidity, nothing really happens. So that's really what liquidity pools are for. I'm not going to go into the technical ways that they actually operate, and they operate on a simple equation to make sure it stays in balance and how much the value goes up and down. But with stablecoin pools like this one, these are all pegged to the dollar. They're not going to change. So let's just go ahead and get in this very plain vanilla stablecoin pool. And let's go back to. So what you're going to see here now, understand that we've already taken $1,000 and we've gotten 7.5% return on the deposit side. We've gotten another 3 or 4% above we're actually being paid another 3 or 4% just to borrow that money back. And now we're taking that same money and putting it into this liquidity pool, and we're getting paid 3.43. Now, what you're getting paid in is stable coins, because that's the basis of the liquidity pool. You're getting paid in dollar denominated interest. So when you get it, it's not going to fluctuate from the time you earn it. But Avalanche, in their wisdom and in their incentive, is going to pay you another 20% of your balance, APY, in AVAX tokens, or wrapped AVAX tokens. Same difference, slight difference. It's just wrapped, not wrapped. So in the matter of using two protocols with Aave and Curve, you've got say 7% on the deposit side. What I said, 2 or 3% on the. There's 10% coming from Aave. You've got another 3%, another 20%. You're up in for just dealing with stable coins, you're returning over 30%, easily over 30%. And that's the power of using these protocols and incentivized returns that you get on here. And this to be said, this isn't going to last forever. Avalanche is not going to fund this forever. This is to kickstart the chain and these protocols and get their acceptance, build up these pools, and so you take advantage of them while you can. Are you going to have these returns a year from now? Is this APY going to stick? No, but 30% on a stable coin is better than nothing on a stable coin. So take it when you can get it, and depending on what volume you come in with, you can make some serious money. And so, and like over on Aave, these rates change as well based on these pools as they fluctuate and how much. And I don't think Daniel's here, but I don't know how they adjust these rewards, whether it's dynamic or they go, hey, throw some more money into this pool, that pool, or whatever it might be. So that's kind of how that works. The one pool, I'm actually in the other pool because this A-Try crypto pool, I actually have some money in it. And I'll go to my dashboard here. It's paying 0% on the base, but it's paying 28% in AVAX, 28% AVAX tokens. But the thing about this is it's DAI USDT, but wrapped Bitcoin and wrapped ETH. So there is some volatility there, but that's actually a good thing. You've got that volatility balanced out with some stable coins. So if there is a run on Bitcoin or ETH, or whatever, and there's some volatility, you can actually benefit from that by combining with stable coins. So some people are looking for stability. Some people are trying to catch a little of that volatility. Some people have too much volatility and want to stabilize it out. So there's uses for these pools, and you should obviously whatever your strategy is, go for it, and try to make the best of your decisions. But that's how you arrive at some pretty decent returns on stable coins that people know about it. But I talk to people and they're like, what, do you get like 5% on a stable coin if I put it on my my BlockFi card or at Gemini or one of these other centralized staking cards or whatever? But you can actually in the short run outperform those. And that's kind of what yield farming is. It's like, when the Avalanche rewards dry up, you look for the next thing that is being incentivized in this way. And you just kind of follow. Polygon was last spring. They came out and had a really great program. Avalanche, in their wisdom, goes, hey, they only put like $40 million in the program. Let's see what can happen if we put 250 million in the program. And they've already surpassed, I think on Aave, they've surpassed Polygon as far as the total lock value in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks. So that's been a pretty amazing thing for Avalanche. So not shilling for Avalanche, but they did their homework, they did it well, and I think they're being successful. So
hey, John, you see where it says claimable tokens?
yes.
So how do you actually claim the tokens?
Yeah, those when you pull out of the pool.
It'll give it to you when you pull out.
Yeah. Now there are other protocols that you can claim. I didn't actually go over that on Aave. Let me see here. Where was that? Anyway, once you get into the once you actually have
dashboard,
there is up in this corner up here. It'll give you how much you can claim that you've earned up point, you can claim. There's a claim button, and you can pull it out right away. Curve is it. They wait till you pull out of the pool, but it adds up, and I've only had this in for a couple of days, not that much money in it. But it fluctuates too based on the price of AVAX. It's like, so you have to be savvy and keep your eye on it. It's a great place to park stable coins and get some return. So anyway.
So as AVAX goes up and down, the amount of AVAX that you get changes?
Dollar denominated.
Right.
Yeah. These and these rewards, I think, flux. I don't have a good understanding of how they decide because those rates change frequently as well. So they have something in there. Is it based on volume? They want a certain amount of volume, so they increase the rewards, or we've got enough, or this is expensive. Because I'm sure for all of these protocols, they have earmarked a certain amount of money and/or tokens that they're going to pay rewards on, and how quickly those are exhausted. I'm sure as the money runs out of the pool for that protocol, these reward percentages will start dropping. That'll be a good way to figure out if they're running out of money. They're supposed to last for at least 3 months, I think, and and I'm sure there are a lot of protocols that they've handed out these incentives to, and if some just aren't catching fire, I'm sure they'll just pull the rewards from that program and plug it into something like Curve or Avalanche or AVAX Aave. Too many A's in there. But I don't know that for sure. But I'm assuming that's the way they do it. It makes sense to me from a business perspective. Maybe Daniel can give a testimonial on how those rewards are calculated and how they change and based on what. It would be nice to know as an investor if you had some insight on, are they about to change, and maybe I should get ahead of the curve and not to use a pun, but get ahead of the curve and move your money before the rewards run out. In case you're going to take a couple days off and you don't want to, and that maybe that sometimes is the fastidiousness of yield farmers that they're watching those percentages and those rewards, and I think you outthink yourself sometimes because they can go down and then they can go back up again, just like the price of a coin. So you have to kind of learn that over a period of time. So that really kind of covers the two really plain vanilla. Hey, this is really these are solid protocols from Ethereum. They've been running flawlessly for well over a year now. DeFi summer was a year ago, so we're into the fall. So they're really probably 18 months into really operating, and I've not heard anybody have much of a problem with either one of these protocols. I don't think they've been hacked. I don't think they've had major issues with them. I'm sure there's probably been a couple hiccups here and there, and with the UI and things not probably working. As you can see, this is probably the most pathetic UI. I mean, when I first looked at Curve, I'm going, I'm not putting my money in that protocol. This is 1998 kind of screen design. What is this? Especially this tab bar at the top. I'm like, what is this? Is this a bulletin board or something? Yeah, I mean, it was, but the more I found out about it, it's like, there's 6 guys that run the protocol, and it's like, they're fine with the way it works. And obviously $16 billion later, other people do too. So, anyway, so that kind of covers these two. And like I said, these are imports from Ethereum. Now there are native Avalanche protocols that also are part of the pool, and obviously getting support for Avalanche because they're native to the chain. And the one I use is Trader Joe, and we'll take a quick look at this. The cool thing about this is it's got the full package. You've got your lending and borrowing protocol on here, which is the same as, numbers are higher over here because, well, I think Avalanche probably thrown them some extra money. I'm not sure. I haven't looked too far into this, but it's the same way. You've got your deposits, your APY and your reward API. You can do the math on these. Borrowing. These rates seem to be crazy, but I don't know if negative means positive or positive means negative on borrowing. They don't differentiate here, but you can do the same thing. What I'm saying is you're doing the same thing on this this platform as you would on Aave. It's the same thing. You're borrowing money, usually stable coins. Here's the Link Marines get a shout out down here. You can use your link as well. And Avalanche, for some reason, really picked Link out of the bunch and thrown them in here. So it's a pretty positive move for them. But it basically operates the same way. Now, the difference, though, and when you go to a native protocol on other chains that are not on Ethereum, or they're not being supported by whoever, is you're going to get your rewards paid out in the native token, which is Joe. Joe is the token, the native token for this protocol. So all your rewards are paid out in Joe, which is does fine. It's not a stable coin. It's like AVAX. It functions however the chain's doing, and a couple other interesting things about it. But you can borrow and lend. Then you can go to pools, and there are liquidity pools that you can get into, tons of them. I don't know, page after page after page, whatever you want to put your money in, like a Joe AVAX. I think I had a Joe AVAX pool for a while. Pays 32%. That's pretty decent. And really where farming gets this is kind of the actual farming part. What we did previously wasn't really farming. I mean, there's different definitions for it. Your yield farming, you're taking yields from more than one protocol and putting it in a second or even third protocol and continue to add yield on top of yield on top of yield. And hopefully in the end, you've got a nice handsome return. But this one, you've got there's a lending and borrowing protocol called Banker Joe, I think, or Joe Bank or whatever. I don't know. They've got a meme for it or a character or something like that. Then there's liquidity pools where you can generate some more returns off of your borrowed money that hopefully you're making money on the borrow and lend side. And you go into the liquidity pool, and these are just some balances on there, and you put in. The cool thing about Curve is you only have to put in one token out of the pool of 3. Most liquidity pools you have to put both sides of the pair in, so you have to put an equal amount of Joe and an equal amount of AVAX in there. So that's one thing to think about. But that's the cool thing about Curve. You only have to put one out of the pair in there, and that's their kind of unique. It's unique to them. I mean, other people do it, but they're the first one, and they do it that way. But the cool thing, and so when you put, they say the Joe AVAX liquidity pool, you'll get liquidity pool tokens. You can see your pool tokens right here, and those you get. The APR is paid by the increase in those pool tokens. You'll see those pool tokens go up. And then what you can do with your pool tokens is you can farm them. So you go over to the farm, and there's probably, let's see, stablecoin farms, my farms, all farms. There's probably an AVAX Joe. Let's look at all the Joe farms. Yeah, here you go. So you take your liquidity pool token from the pool and take it over to the farm, and you'll stake it on the farm, and you'll still be earning the return from the previous pool, but by staking it, then you're going to get paid in Joe tokens, and you harvest those periodically as your balance builds up. And a lot of people go, well, you know, why is Joe paying even more rewards on, you know, it's 108% APR on this. It's like, but you're paid. So, you know, one thing is things and these incentives, and especially farming is when you stake something, and that's something I don't think people think about a whole lot. It's like, I'm staking my, you know, Ethereum on a, you know, ETH2 staking platform. I'm staking this or I'm staking that, and you're getting paid for that. But in a new protocol like Joe, it's only been out, you know, not that long. Well, it probably was on Avalanche before their big kickoff, but obviously didn't have the attention. Is by staking Joe, you know, or anything else, is like you're basically it's incentivized supply disruption. You're basically locking down that token, basically taking it out of circulation. You're not, you know, and obviously when you take coins out of circulation, like when you burn tokens, there's a you know, to reduce supply, and obviously the hope is that token appreciates. Or in the case of a new program, you're giving it out as rewards, but you're also locking it up, so you that kind of balances it out, if you know what I'm saying. It's like you're giving it away and incentivizing giving it away, but you're also paying people to lock it up, but you're just giving out more. Somehow the math works out. I'll let the geniuses figure that out, but that's kind of why they stake these liquidity pool tokens, and you get paid for that.
When you stake them, can you take them back at any time, or you have to keep them in there for a certain amount of time?
Now there are some protocols that, well, Curve. If you go to the native Ethereum Curve platform, you can stake for 3 or 4 years and lock that up. But you're getting the great thing about Curve, and I don't want to. I'll shield that for a little bit. On the native Ethereum platform that they have, you know, when you stake Curve, you get 50. Well, let me back up. A year ago, September, it's a DAO, and the DAO decided that every admin fee that they get off of every pool, 50% of that will be paid back to people that stake Curve. And it's like, well, that's pretty incredible. Now that you see how, you know, Curve has gone to, I think, is on tons of platforms, and those admin fees really add up, and you have a share of that, and that's when I look at certain platforms. That's what I look is like, okay, if I stake this, where are they just paying me in tokens that is inflationary to the protocol, and they're just giving it away and paying, kind of like this, you know, they're making a bet that they can keep liquidity high, but still lock down some of their tokens, and it's a game. It really is a game. But Curve is like, so many of the Curve tokens that have been distributed are staked because people see the value in that. And there are protocols like Yearn and Convex that if you take your Curve tokens there and stake it on their protocol, well, that they get all of the returns from that staked Curve token that you would have gotten Curve. Well, they pay you that because they get voting rights, and that's the main thing. Is especially with DAO tokens, you get voting rights, and as you saw with Curve, they have hundreds of pools, and as you vote on those, how much rewards do we put in that pool? And as a member of DAO, you get to determine that. And guess what? If you have all your money in one pool, you're going to say put 100% of the returns on that pool. You know, you're going to favor yourself because that's kind of the way that works. I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but anyway, that's how this Trader Joe is probably the best site I've seen on Avalanche that kind of does everything. I think maybe the only one. It does lending, pools, farming, And the only thing I do on this is I stake my Joe for XJoe, and that's XJoe is the staked Joe token. But just like on Curve, what I look for is that they're for every swap on Joe, when you're swapping tokens, that fee is collected into the Joe pool, and it buys back Joe tokens, and basically, burns them. So they're basically reducing the supply of Joe there by when you're staking those. But you can stake those, get a decent percentage. But the cool thing, because it's a native token, you can stake it and get paid 32% APR, if that is, and then you can farm XJoe. I do. That's and as you can see, I get, and they pay you out in Joe. So harvest that. There's only $12 of rewards there right at the moment. I think I harvested yesterday, but and it shows you the share of the overall pool. Obviously, I have a very small pool. There's $109 million in that liquidity pool. So my measly almost $3,000 doesn't quite stack up to everybody else. But anyway, it does all of those things. It's also, you can also trade pairs, that obviously works off of their own liquidity pool, which is a great thing. And they also have an interesting thing, although it's very limited in use, and that's Zap, which you can, I was saying you have to put an equal amount of both tokens in a liquidity pool before it'll be accepted. With the exception, when you Zap it, you can just put one token in here, like my Joe token, and I want to Zap it into a Joe Avex pool or something like that, and they'll do that for you. So you can do a one-sided through this Zap function, which is kind of unique, I guess. I'm sure other protocols have that too, but like I said, this is a really complete protocol if you want to do yield farming, because it has everything. You can convert your currency to whatever token you want to lend or borrow, or put in a pool, or farm, or stake, or whatever you want to do. So anyway, that's kind of the story there. I could go on, and I hope maybe next weekend next Wednesday we can maybe go over some other things, some interesting things that are on Avalanche and other protocols, which is really the antithesis of liquidity pools. And those are two, soon to be three protocols, which is Olympus DAO, Wonderland, and then Clima, which is going to be on the Polygon chain. And those are their basic approach is screw liquidity pools, own your own liquidity, because as you can see, paying out these incentives to people to use your liquidity pool is expensive. You're inflating your tokens, and you're just giving away tokens. It's expensive. And guess what? When those incentives go away, so does your liquidity. And that's what a lot of protocols have found. So these three new protocols are using bonding mechanisms. It's like own your own liquidity. Don't pay somebody ridiculous amounts of money to in liquidity pools. So that we can maybe go over that next week. I know Tyler's interested in that, and I got Dustin interested in it this weekend. So maybe we'll talk about that if I feel up to explaining. It's fairly complex, but I think it might be some value to the group if everybody thinks so. So anyway, I've been talking a whole lot, and it's not hard for me to do. But if anybody has any questions, for sure. If there's still some people here, that's awesome. That's awesome. Excellent. Ray, you're still recording? We're good? Okay. Yes. Like I think like 3 months, and it really depends on how much money is being used. Now, that's really up to Avalanche, because if they're really getting good results, I could see them pumping more money into it and extending it. If they got the results they wanted with their investment and in that, and it winds down when the tokens run out, but I think they've kind of given it like a 3-month window. And the whole thing is this is pre-announced, and I learned from Polygon. I got in like the last 2 weeks of that program, and I was kicking myself because I'm like, I could be having these returns for the last 2 or 3 months, and it's like I only got the last tail end of it. So it's good to be informed of what's going on out there as far as programs, and obviously use your Twitter, use your Discord, look around. You'll hear about these things when they're fairly well announced ahead of time, and pre-position your money and set some aside to ape into something when it happens to collect those rewards. That's kind of the fun of yield farming, if you find that fun. Like, it takes a certain type of person. It's not for everybody, but hey, it's something I've enjoyed. I guess I kill the screen since we're not really. Let's see, back to videos. How do I kill? Oh, okay. Kill my screen. Okay, there we go. Oh. Sure. Yeah, well, and I think that's important, and I know Keith has been hanging in there, and I'll be doing a one-on-one with him tomorrow a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe he's got everything he wanted to see tonight. I don't know, but I'm sure he's got more questions. But it just takes people a little patience and time, and a little nerve. It's money. It's not like you're putting it in your Merrill Lynch account. It can be a little unnerving, but that's the time to get into things. That's why crypto is so interesting. It is so unknown. It is so a little bit edgy, and because that keeps the plain vanilla folks out. That are gonna they're gonna wait until Aave is the bank, and they're not going to have those rewards. They'll have more than 0.05% on their savings account, but there's opportunity now, so I like to try to take advantage of it. So, but yeah. So anyway, excellent. If nobody has any more questions, it's been a full hour. I can't believe I did that, but it was fun. And like I said, maybe we'll put something together for next Wednesday. And I'm not the only person that knows about all this stuff. There are other people too, but certainly if there's some topics people want to have covered, or certain protocols they're interested in, it's like, well, let's run over that and see how that actually works. Because it's one thing to talk about it in a Twitter or even in a video. People can show, but until you get your hands on it and actually click the buttons yourself, it's can be intimidating. So anyway, well, thanks everyone. It was good, and I'll catch up with you all later.
All right, thanks, John.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks for the explanations. Have a good night.